Hello traders, how have you been trading? The Jan 22 expiry is behind us now, and I hope the Feb expiry is less of surprises and volatility for both of us. But for this video, I'm going to talk about combination of few powerful tools which can help you to spot strong zones of supports and resistances using, of course, the angle of volumes. So let's start looking at volume profile and anchored VWAP together. So this is the chart of Nifty. Let's say we go to ICICI Bank. Now, there you are. This is the daily bar chart of ICICI Bank. And let's say we want to focus on this particular sell-off. When this consolidation was shaping up, was there any sign, was there any possibility of a signal which told us that this can lead to a short-term bounce back and then further here or not? And could we have received any kind of information from volume profile or VWAP or volumes that this could have been a resistance or this is a resistance? Let's try and figure this out with the help of volume profile and anchored VWAP. So our point of concern is this point all the way down to this point. When we are down here, we could have drawn this volume profile. Now, before I leave the cursor, a sign of accumulation or reaccumulation is the point of control or max volumes tends to happen at the lower end. This is interesting because you can now clearly see that of this entire in this entire sell-off, right? Maximum volumes have happened here. Now, when I talk about maximum, which is a point of control, is this particular bar, which is not too far away from this bar or this bar, right? But nevertheless, this is where the zone of max volumes had happened. We can cross-check this if we go to indicators and drop the conventional volumes. When we drop the conventional volumes, and especially after dropping the conventional volumes, honestly, I don't like this coloring of volumes. It takes away the focus. And let's say I put in 2021 is a monthly volume. So once I do this, you can notice that down there on the volumes, our point of start is this point all the way down to this point. We can clearly see that this is the zone where distinctly volumes were above the monthly average throughout. In this sell-off, it was quite low. So this 6 days of trade is an indication that volumes have picked up. So this we can consider as a sign of reaccumulation, which should give us a bounce. Now, if you turn this into a line chart, you can see lower lows. Now you can get a little interested. You can say, okay, quickly, let's go to relative strength index, because these kind of falls generally give us decent divergences. And then you find that this is falling, and then you notice that the RSI is rising. Let me just drag this up. Then we notice that the RSI down here is rising, and so you call this a positive divergence. You've got sign of reaccumulation. This kind of enhances your reading better, right? So let's quickly remove these. Let's keep the RSI. And so at this juncture, when this low was broken, this was like a shakeout, getting all the longs stopped out just to give us a sharp recovery. Now, as it was recovering, let's say you did not trade this, you were observing it, all right, you're not a short-term trader. Now, when it comes to further resistances, of course, in terms of volume profile, this is your range, so you can mark it here like this. So on the way up, it did see some decent volumes. This according to volume profile, as per volume profile. Now we go to the tools and we go down all the way down to this anchored VWAP. You go to this anchored VWAP and come to this highest point, click it and leave it. Now you can clearly now notice that the anchored VWAP also clearly confluences within this red zone. As prices were going up, this is where the resistances kicked in. RSI value was in the zone of 54, 55, that was this line, and we had a sharp correction. In fact, this sharp correction took the previous lows, which was a sign of panic, but this time we don't see any volumes happening. As it came down, the volume stayed down. Now, as this couple of weeks, 2.5 weeks passed, if we drag our volume profile down to this low, we'll notice that this entire space, this bounce and this fall, had taken the maximum volumes, and that's why we can see over here a pretty good chunk of volumes, which means that ICICI Bank's majority of the price action has been in this range, 780, 785 and 710. So 700, 750 kind of zone is a very important one. So let's clear this. So now let's keep this arrow. Now that we have dropped the volume profile to here, and anchored VWAP of course is going to keep on calculating itself on itself. This is not as strong a buy signal than this one, because over here we had a nice confluence of momentum and volume profile, shakeout, etc. This was like tough. This was like a typical V recovery, which took the market by surprise. And as we extend this further ahead like this you can notice that at this juncture there was no resistances offered by the anchored VWAP. In fact, it clearly, beautifully took the prices further up, and now as it is correcting, it is likely to face some support. We have the anchored VWAP here, and we have this zone again. But now that we have this this bounce back, isn't it important that we do the same during the bounce back? So now I can come to volume profile, come to this lowest point and drag it up all the way up to the top. Now look here, as it was bouncing, as it was taking up, of course the volumes were relatively higher here because it did spend for 6 trading sessions down here. So this was a good sign when it was bouncing back. This was the much needed breakout. So as per my style of trading approach, I would never try to enter here unless I'm doing a long-term investment, buy on a dip or buy on a panic mode. But once we have a little bit of confidence coming in, which is here, one can look to trade this kind of breakouts if you're a breakout trader, that is. So what's happening now? We have 2 volume profiles drawn. Let me remove this arrow, it's of no use right now, sorry. Let me undo. This is better. Now in this leg up, this is where the chunk of volumes have happened. A little bit of volumes you can notice here, which coincides with this big wide red rectangle that we have drawn. And now what we can do, one more thing, is come to anchored VWAP and point it out here. Wow, as I pointed it out here, now this anchored VWAP is considering this important low point, and this anchored VWAP is considering this important high point, and you can do a small one from here as well. I generally prefer to give them a different color. I would like to give them a blue or a green when I want supports, so that in this this circus of colors we can stand out. So now we can see that these 2 anchored VWAPs have come more or less close to each other, which is at the erstwhile decent resistance zone. So we can expect going forward that this particular stock, as it is coming down, should try to stabilize within that, close to that 770 mark. Now, importantly, you can notice here that as we discuss this, volumes have started to pick up again. The trend in itself has figured out a decent, tendency on the upside. This is the short-term correction, and hopefully, once these kind of levels are taken out, especially this particular red bar, we can find a movement. These are analysis. These are expectations created from the chart based on which we trade. At times they go right, at times they don't go right. When they go right, the traders make returns. When they don't, they save their capital and move out as soon as possible. So this is how you can step by step combine volume profile, VWAP, take a look at the conventional volumes, take a look at, you can look at divergences and prices and candlesticks also. The more the information you get, the more confluence you get, the better. I can quickly do this one more time in this video. Let's say another banking stock, let's say HDFC Bank. This is interesting because it's going through a very sharp correction, and we can see on the conventional volume some serious amount of volumes are picking up. Let's quickly decide. We are going to first analyze this entire fall and then extend it till this point. So we're going to analyze this fall, whether it gave any signal of this short-term bounce back. Then we will discuss this entire fall and did we get any kind of signal for this bounce back. Then we will discuss this bounce back and did it give any signal here for this correction, with the help of volume profile, anchored VWAP, conventional volumes, and yes, if RSI supports that signal, that possibility. So quickly, I'm going to now drop a volume profile down till here. At this point, okayish, because well spread volumes throughout. So it's not a very strong signal as we saw in the previous example of ICICI Bank. Volumes were down, right down there. In this case, it's not. On the other hand, this bounce back, if I turn it into a line chart, I don't even see any positive divergences. So not a very smart move to trade this. On the other hand, this volume profile did actually work as a resistance. Anchored VWAP right at the top here. Let's mark it red because first we are looking at it as resistances. So it didn't even have the strength to move all the way up till the anchored VWAP. But this point of control did act as very good resistance. Let's mark this with a small rectangular box like this. So number one, we did not get any sign of good accumulation down here. We got some bit of sign of resistance from this bar's high and the volume profile. Nevertheless, the stock crashes further down and we will extend it further down till this point. Now we continue to notice that a chunk of volumes have happened here. Nothing, no sign of accumulation, very bare minimum little volumes are happening here. And this point of control, these wide volume profile bars are mainly because of this zone. So again, HDFC Bank, when we were in this zone, does not allow us any kind of strong signal of accumulation or reaccumulation. Any kind of signal from the RSI, nothing as of now. So if you trade based on signs of volumes or price momentum divergences, you would not be able to probably capture this. Breakout traders might be able to probably observe range bound activity. You might see some breakout here and there. So breakout traders of course can try, but they pay the price also because breakout fails. But then what about this bounce back? Now let's take a look at, let's try and analyze that. Now we come to this low point and go all the way up till this high point. Now this is interesting because now you notice that as I drop this volume profile, the point of control comes right at the top here. It means that in this bounce back, the max volumes have happened right at the top as we analyze this run up. Interesting. And this run up, this volume profile, and this previous anchored VWAP, if you remember, more or less, it has taken it out, yes, but more or less in that zone. So as the prices were heading up here, it was dealing with resistances, volumes were picking up there. Signs the fact that prices are dealing with resistance, which means can it fall? Let's ask the RSI, have you created any kind of divergences? Oh yes, very clearly in this chart, we can now clearly see this divergence. Now when we get this big C, confluence, that is where the probability of your trade to go right is very, very high. However, when you trade randomly, just based on supports, just based on resistance, just based on any particular one, two singular concept, it's as good as 50-50. This is my experience. So I hope this was useful. I hope I made sense here. Give it a shot, give it a try. Try and understand that if the stock is falling, let's say for example, I'll finish this HDFC Bank. Now that we picked up this top pretty well, in this sell-off, has it created any signs of accumulation? Not yet. Volumes are extremely high, pretty high. Significantly, most of the days are above the 20 period average. But because of this 1, 2, 3, 4 days of a bit of range bound activity, the point of control has gone shot up right up there. So we should wait. We should wait for this kind of volumes to happen down here. So summing it up, this kind of an approach can help you. Give it a try, as I was suggesting. The objective is supports and resistances. Strong supports with confluences, with divergences gives you good buying opportunity and vice versa. We are using tools. So do not hesitate to draw and redraw, because prices change, highs and lows change, and accordingly your drawings and levels should also change. One small bit of suggestion, try not to be a perfectionist. That if you have drawn an anchored VWAP, you don't expect that the price will go kiss that anchored VWAP and come down and it will go exactly to the point of control and all. It gives you a sense of the range of price. So prices do tease with these levels. They break it out just to make sure that you change your view, and then when you go bullish, it turns bearish, and you know the rest of the story, right? All right. So I hope this was useful. This was pending for quite some time. A powerful combination of anchored VWAP, volume profile, and relative strength index. Take care of yourselves, guys. Trade well, trade wise.